Hello, universe. How are you today? Pink Floyd is the wall. I think it's a wall. It's the something. Well, back for another video. And as I promised you, I was going to talk about the hypocrisy of racism. Which could be led or attached to politics in all kinds of ways. Let's just start with the motivation or the inspiration for me to talk about this. As I mentioned yesterday, the Paula Deen situation. Paula Deen, if you are not aware, is or was a personality on the Food Network. She had cooking equipment, she had foods out, a lot of branding for her. Well, apparently during some testimony, she admitted to using the N-word. It's so odd we keep calling it the N-word because rappers use the word all the time. But it's like forbidden territory for white people or for Latino people to use it. So she admitted to it, but I hate the word, that's why I don't want to say it. So she was judged by it. As a result, Food Network fired her because she said the word. Walmart dropped her because she said the word. Another company dropped her. On the contrary to that, on the opposite side of that, she has a book coming out, and book sales have jumped up 1,000%. So, that is what motivated me or inspired me to address this subject. Let's talk about this though. And like I said, feel free to post video responses. Feel free to comment below. You may or may not like what I'm going to say, but I'm going to give it to you straight because I don't believe in fucking with people. You know, I'm not going to use that language. I'm not going to. It makes me sound like I can't produce a thought. I'm not going to lie to you. How about that? So, the N-word, capital N as in the letter, plus 5 other letters. In relation to black people, if you don't already know what it is. First off, let's pick on PC words for a second. The word African American, if you were to actually ask an African person, the dominant number of African people, or a large number of African people, majority, whatever word you choose, do not like that people in this country who go by that distinction, because they think it's offensive to them, because they actually live in Africa. Additionally, there are white people that live in Africa. So does that mean that if you are a black person who lives in Africa, that you can come to the States and be called an African American, but if you're a white African that comes to the United States, you're no longer an African American? That's called hypocrisy. So deal with it. African American is a PC term that was created because of a heritage that is not completely based on a dark skin tone. There have been white people and black people pink people or brown people, whatever you prefer to phrase as, who have lived in Africa for centuries. I am sure both skin tones were always there. If you want to debate it, then you would probably link white people back to it more than you would black people. Because for the longest time, the majority of the population happened to be white. Now it has balanced out quite a bit, if not shifted to the other side. So, African American is not really a proper term. It's a PC term that somehow got through the politicians and made it into the nation's vocabulary as proper. But it's pretty much a falsehood, because it's not true to that region of the world. Because if that's the case, then white people from Africa have the right to fill out an application if they become a citizen of America and say they are an African American. Because they're from Africa. So, let's go with that first. I don't care about the color of your skin. For crying out loud. All I care about is that you contribute to society in some way. Now, let's get back to Paula Deen a little bit for a second. Walmart, as an example, has pulled Paula Deen, or decided to end their relationship with Paula Deen. Well, Walmart, and any other such company that has done the same thing, why don't you end your relationship or refuse to carry artists that promote albums or materials of any kind that degrade women or use the negative racial slurs in any kind of capacity towards whites, towards blacks, towards Asians, towards Latinos? Why don't you end your relationships with them? This is garbage and hypocritical. You don't know where Paula Deen came from. I don't pretend to know where she came from outside of the state that she came from. But if you're going to judge her, then it is hypocritical and discriminatory to judge her but not judge other people. Especially, and this is not always the case, mind you, and it is not just populated by people of brown skin tone. I don't even know why the hell we call people black. People who are have chocolate coloring or brown coloring are not black. Black is your hair. Black is the bar on this machine, the padding. It's brown. You're a brown skin tone. What is be called a chocolate American? I mean, seriously. People who, you're not black. Black's just burnt. Black is a hair color. I'm not black, so a hair color, so I would be brown. Either way, the rap industry is dominated by people of brown skin tone. Now, there are people like Eminem, who are white, that still do this. And they use the N-word all the time. This is garbage. Don't pick on Paula Deen because she comes from Alabama and she uses the N-word. She grew up in that culture. And, moreover, don't pick on Paula Deen for using that word when rappers won't stop saying that word. And I think rappers, white, brown, Asian, Latino, whatever, are being incredibly incredibly disrespectful to people who had that word thrown at them in a searing, vicious, venomous way in the past. It is completely disrespectful to those people. Those people who happen to have been of brown skin tone, who had that word thrust at them centuries ago, for you to use it is not an homage and not a memory, because you're using it in a music style to talk about other people, and you're talking about them in negative ways in most situations. Not to mention the fact that the word was used negatively towards people with brown skin tone centuries ago. It was used to degrade them. Oh, not even a century ago. It's still being used in this century. But in the last couple of centuries, or 3 centuries past within this nation of America, it has been used in a negative, degrading tone towards people of brown skin tone. And it's wrong. Those people have suffered. Well, they're not suffering anymore because most of them are dead. But those few who have survived, they fought to get away from that word. And you are keeping it in the vocabulary of this country, of this world, by continuing to use it. My first question is, why? What does that add? How does that contribute to the growth of society when you won't let go of such a venomous, evil word that was used to degrade people? That makes you ridiculous, in my opinion. I don't care your skin tone color, by the way. I think you're being disrespectful to people. And I feel for them because you didn't go through it. You didn't. No matter what you say now. If you are in your 20s or 30s, you didn't live through this kind of horrible time. Yes, you may have still experienced it, but we're talking about people in centuries when they were beaten, they were judged wrongfully, and that word was connected to that because they thought it was a way to degrade them. They used it to say, that stinking little da-da-da. That's an evil word. Don't expect people like Paula Deen or anyone in society to stop using that word if you won't. You are perpetuating. I get so irritated by it. Perpetuating that negative word. Stop damn using it. It's evil and it's disrespectful to people who were hurt and murdered with that word as a motivator and is used to hurt them. The souls of those poor people, the horrible things they went through, you have not gone through if you were in your 30s or younger. And for you to use that kind of word is not because you have a right, because you have the same skin tone. Because, damn it, you didn't live through that. You weren't whipped with chains. You weren't hung. You weren't dragged behind cars or horses. Stop damn using it. It is horrible. People fought so long. Martin Luther King fought to get away from that kind of negative use and application towards people who have a brown skin tone. He died trying to change society so that people of brown skin tone could be on the same level. And not just them. People of Asian and Latino descent and all kinds of descent, Indian descent. He fought to create a balance. Lincoln did that to eliminate those negative things. And you are still using it. Stop it. And on top of that, and this is predominantly in the rap industry, I'm sorry, don't blame me. I didn't make rap do this. Why do you have to talk about hurting women? Slapping them and using them as sexual objects? I mean, really, what is your problem? What kind of a little angry kid are you that you have to keep talking, using a word that's degrading to a portion of our society, a large portion of our society, that just want to be considered equal to everyone else, and should be, and then talking about a gender, and this is just as discriminatory, where you talk about a gender, slapping them around, mistreating them, and using them as nothing but a sexual object. I don't care who listens to it. And it's not all rap that does that, by the way, but there is a large portion that does. But if you're doing that, you've got no character, in my opinion, because you are discriminatory. You think it's different talking about skin tone and skin color? It's just as discriminatory to look at another gender as lesser than you. It is. You can say it all you want to, it's not. It's chauvinistic, and it's childish. You can't get away from your being 8 years old and thinking you're better than girls, or thinking girls are gross. Well, fine. Too many women fall for it, though. Too many do. And I think in a way it's just like being suppressed if you were a person of brown skin tone. Look at what women have to fight for right now. Women are still fighting for it. Women across the board. Across the board. White, brown, Latino, Indian, Asian. They fight across the board to be considered equals. And by God, they are. Women are equal to men. Is their physical stature the same? In most cases, no. It doesn't change the quality of them as human beings. Hypocrisy and racism, discrimination across the board, class, ethnicity, gender. It's a sad society when we're judging people and not appreciating the fact that someone is different. I personally have adored knowing people of different genders, of different ethnicities, and of different levels financially, whether it may be of less means or more means than me. Because I learned how they appreciate the small things or respect what they can do with money. Where they come from. I have so much respect for women, it's ridiculous. So much respect for them. But I don't have respect for people who are liars and abuse words and use media to promote separation between us. I don't respect it. I think it shows ignorance and childish behavior, insecurity, and that's really it. It's not even about being selfish. You're not being selfish, you just don't know how to put words together in a sentence to move society forward. God bless Gene Roddenberry's perspective on the future, because until people start letting go, or don't start, let go of separating us, we will never come together. It's time to come together. Seriously. It's not just a Beatles song. It's a reality. Come together. All of us. Start paying everybody across this board the same. Nobody gets more advantages than anyone else. You put in the work, you reap the rewards. I adore the differences between us. You need to start people who promote the separation or the degrading of another gender or another ethnicity or another level of financial means. You're really not a benefit to this world. Start being a benefit, not a disadvantage to our growth as a society, internationally, worldwide. Come on, grow up. It's time to put the big pants on. Alright, have a great day. I went over, I know. But if you listen to this rant and you agree with me, and it inspires you in any way to start appreciating other people and the beauty of our differences, then maybe it was worthwhile. I hope it was for you. Sure was for me. I needed it vented. So thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Take it easy. I'll see you tomorrow. Live with passion.